We'll be setting up CentOS 7 on a virtual machine. I'm going to be using VirtualBox to create a virtual machine, and then we're going to install CentOS 7 operating system inside that virtual machine. I have VirtualBox installed on a separate computer from the one that I'm currently on that supports 64-bit virtual machines. So I'll be putting that on a 64-bit virtual machine. CentOS 7, the only option for it is 64-bit. So first you're going to have to download CentOS 7. You can go to their website, just Google CentOS, and it should be one of the first links, if not the first link that pops up. And actually I'll go ahead and open that up here in Firefox. Okay, so let's get on out of here. CentOS. Wait a moment to find it. Okay, here we are. So we can go to download CentOS or CentOS project. Okay, get CentOS now. So give you a few options. You can download it directly from your browser, the DVD ISO or everything ISO. For this purposes, I'm just going to stick to DVD ISO. Everything ISO kind of gives you more stuff. If you're familiar with getting around Linux and that sort of thing, that'll be for you. But if you're just kind of getting started, DVD ISO is going to fit the bill. However, oftentimes, whenever you're downloading from a browser, you could experience some connectivity issues or drop-offs, and what happens is you can get a good portion of the way through your download and connectivity drops, and now you've got to restart the entire download. So one way to get around that is to download the file using a torrent. They give you the option right down here. Both ISOs are also available via torrent. I'll click on that. I can select any one of these. I just put the first one, and it'll take me to a index or listing of the files that are in there. The one I'm looking for is going to be the CentOS x86 64 DVD torrent. So when I click on that, it'll give me a file, and I'll save that file. Or if you have BitTorrent or another torrent client on your computer, which is where you download your torrents from, it'll give you the option right here where it says open with, and it'll list that program to be able to download the torrent. I've already got it downloaded, so I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm going to bring back my desktop, the other computer where my VirtualBox lives and is installed on. I'm using TeamViewer, which is an application to let you remote into other computers. Oftentimes this is used for remote support, remote assistance. You could use it for different types of things, something like this, where on this laptop that I'm on right now, I can jump into and access the desktop for another computer in another location. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just accessing it from this laptop, and this is the desktop for that other computer where we're going to install CentOS 7. So I've got the file downloaded. It'll look something like this: CentOS 7, that's the latest version, 64 DVD, that's the ISO file. You can put this anywhere on your system because with VirtualBox you're going to point to that file to then install it on the virtual machine. So starting out, we're going to go ahead and create a new virtual machine in VirtualBox. I'm going to hit New. I'm just going to name this. If I were to type in CentOS, you'll automatically see Red Hat 64-bit. That's because CentOS is cut from Red Hat. So it's identifying that it's a Linux operating system, Red Hat based. And I'm going to put 7 right here, test. I'm going to hit next. Okay, so that's already created. All I got to do is just put something like 1 or 2, whatever, just make it slightly different and you'll be fine. Something else to note here, you can only install CentOS 7 on a 64-bit operating system. In this particular example, on a 64-bit virtual machine. Basically, if you're going to be installing anything on a 64-bit virtual machine, the computer that all that is on has to also be providing 64-bit. Okay, so next here for memory size, I like to put higher than I'm going to actually use in case there are times where I might need to bump up the memory. So for example, 2 gigabytes would be just fine for running this server, but I'm going to go ahead and set it for 4 gigabytes for just in case. The good thing about doing it that way is that you can always scale down, which is what I'll do once I finish creating this virtual machine. I'll set it initially to allot 4 gigabytes, but then after I'm done setting it up, I'll jump back to the settings and bring it down to 2 gigabytes with the option to bump it up when I want or when I need to. So I'll put 4096 here. Hit next. I'm going to create a virtual hard drive now. Create. Leave it at the default VDI. Dynamically allocated. Okay. Here you're going to put how much storage you want to dedicate to this virtual machine on your hard drive. 8 gigabytes is going to be fine. And then up here you can select where you want to create this virtual machine, basically, or the virtual hard drive. One thing I like to do is I like to set a directory to an external hard drive or partition that'll store all my installations for virtual machines that I create, so that I can free up resources on my main system and not, keep stacking on virtual machines that are taking up gigabytes of storage. Okay, for our purposes here though, we'll just leave it at the default. Hit create. Okay. Now we've got to point to the location where the file is that we'll be using to install CentOS 7. In order to do that, we need to go to our settings for that virtual machine. We have it right here. I'm going to right click. We've got settings, go down to storage. Right here we have empty. Select empty, and right here we've got a small disk right next to that drop down. We're going to select that and choose a virtual CD DVD disk file. I'm going to search for the location of that file. I have mine stored in an external drive right here in this folder, and I'm going to select CentOS 7. Open. There we are. We have it attached. So now when I hit OK, the only thing we need to do next to install or beginning the process of installing this operating system, CentOS 7, on this virtual machine is to start it by clicking Start up here. You can also double click on it and it will do the same thing. So it's starting up. CentOS 7 gives us the option to install CentOS 7. I will hit enter. It'll do what it needs to do. I'm going to go to view right over here and switch to, let's switch to full screen. You can see what we're doing. Then we'll go through a few processes before we move on to the actual installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here, let it finish what it needs to do, and we'll pick up once it is completed. Okay, so it'll continue processing a few things. And then it takes us to the welcome screen for CentOS 7 installation. Here we're going to choose English. You can choose whatever language is suitable for you. Then we'll press continue. There we go. All right, we can set our date and time. And then choose your region, your city. I'm going to be Central Time, and the option for Central Time here is going to be Chicago. Adjust your time right here as you please. I'm going to hit done. You can modify language support. Right here, we're going to go down to installation destination. Okay. Default settings are looking just fine. We're going to hit done. Network and host name, we're not going to set that up yet, but we will set it up later. We can also install some software during this portion of the installation. However, we're going to leave the settings as they are. And then we're going to go ahead and hit begin installation. Okay. Root password and user creation. Basically what we'll be doing here is just creating a password. Put in whatever you like, something that's easy to remember. Hit done. It will not take mine, so I'll go ahead and put in something else. Okay, and there we have it. Don't have to worry about user creation just yet. We'll get to that in a later video. But as soon as you get to the screen, it already starts installing. So when we jumped into the root password, it was already starting the installation process. That's what we're seeing here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then we'll get back to it here once it's done installing. Okay, so once it's done, we're going to go ahead and select reboot. This will go ahead and restart our virtual machine with CentOS 7 now installed. And then we are prompted to log in. We created our password earlier during installation. Here, you're going to log in as root. We did not create a user. Default is root. And then put in your password. And we are now logged in.